Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Alicia Lumpkin, and I serve as the Chief Service Officer for the City of Birmingham AmeriCorps Vista initiative, as well as the Director of Process Improvement. And first, I would like to thank each of you all for joining us today as we take time out to celebrate AmeriCorps Week, recognizing the outstanding accomplishments of AmeriCorps members across the state, the nation, and those who graciously serve the city of Birmingham. So before we get started, I'd like to take some time out to just acknowledge some of our special guests. First, to our AmeriCorps CEO, Mr. Michael D. Smith and his amazing staff. If we could give them a round of applause. Also, we would like to thank Mayor Woodfin for your vision in extending the invitation for us to even have this event. We have some members from the Alabama State Commissioner's Office. As I say your name or call your names, would you please stand? Mr. Rod Stakely, he's the chair. Miss Betty Ruth, who will be joining us very soon. Sue Johnson. George Casey. Mr. Jonathan Gaddy. And Al Dixon. If there are any additional commissioners that I may have missed or any elected officials, would you please stand at this time? All right. We also have some great members from the governor's office who have joined us as well. So as I call your names, would you please stand? Miss Melinda Stallworth. Cecily Means Sr. All right. Brandy Hatmer. And Amber E. Price. Perfect. Now, last but we have Miss Betty Ruth, who has just joined us in the corner. Thank you. But last but absolutely not least, if we have any members that are currently serving as AmeriCorps members or AmeriCorps senior members, if you all would please stand. Anybody in the audience? Yes. You all are the reason that we're here. We're very thankful for your service and for you joining us today. So thank you. So during our time together, we will hear from representatives from the governor's office, and members of the Alabama commissioner will present a proclamation on behalf of the governor. We'll also hear from one of our very own Vista members that serve with the city of Birmingham, and then we'll hear a conversation from our great leaders. After that, we'll have a special announcement where one of our local partners will share some exciting news. So we have a full day and a packed schedule, so get ready. So before we get started, or as we get started, I would like to invite Miss Melinda Smith up. Miss Stallworth up to join us for our remarks and to present the proclamation.
Good morning. Shamir Woodfin, Michael Smith, AmeriCorps CEO. Welcome to Sweet Home, Alabama. Alabama State Service Commissioners, community partners, guests, and especially to our committed AmeriCorps members, AmeriCorps senior volunteers, and program staff. Good morning. My name is Melinda Stallworth. I am the coordinator for the Governor's Office of Volunteer Services. I, along with the Alabama State Service Commissioners, bring you greetings on behalf of Governor Kay Ivey. Thank you for the opportunity to bring greetings and celebrate the kickoff for this year's AmeriCorps Week with you all today. The Governor's Office of Volunteer Services, also known as the Alabama State Service Commission, is a governor-appointed state agency. Our office works to increase an ethic of service and volunteerism statewide and strengthen the capacity of Alabama's faith and community-based organizations and promote collaboration among individuals and organizations striving to meet some of the state's greatest needs. Our office manages programs and initiatives, including the State AmeriCorps Program, and is the state's lead agency for volunteer and donations management after disaster. Alabama State Service Commissioners joining us today have been announced, and we're so excited they were able to join us today. And AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers, thank you for getting things done for America and for Alabama. We are proud of you and your programs and grateful for what you are doing and will continue to do to get things done here in our Alabama communities. From preparing today's students for tomorrow's jobs, helping communities and families impacted by COVID-19, restoring their environment, strengthening the capacities of nonprofits, addressing food insecurity in our communities, conducting vision screenings for young children, and providing tax prep services for low-income individuals and families, helping seniors live independently, and rebuilding communities after disasters, and so much more. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your commitment to the citizens of Alabama. We look forward to hearing the upcoming conversation between Mayor Woodfin and Mr. Smith about the importance of service and its impact in our communities. If our office can ever be of assistance, please let us know. Now we'll pass over the mic to our Commissioners Rod Stakely and Betty Ruth for a special presentation for AmeriCorps Week.
Good morning. I'm Rod Stakely, and welcome very much to Alabama. May I begin first, though, by thanking Mayor Woodfin. Thank you so much, not only for your hospitality, but for your leadership for this beautiful facility and what I know will be done in cooperation and partnership with AmeriCorps. May I also welcome you on behalf of the governor. We will read a proclamation from Governor Ivey shortly, declaring this week as AmeriCorps Week, but may I extend her personal gratitude and welcome to the state of Alabama. On behalf of the commission itself and the commissioners, I have that privilege as well. We welcome you here. I hope you'll find the door open and that you'll come through as often as you possibly can, both as an encouragement to us as well as to see what we're doing effectively, I might add. And on behalf of the Alabama AmeriCorps state programs funded by AmeriCorps, many of whom are represented here today, as you've already seen. Most importantly, and candidly, I welcome and thank you because of the important role that AmeriCorps plays in partnership with Alabama in delivering services to those who need them most. As the governor will note in her proclamation, as Betty Ruth, who I know you know and have already communicated with, has briefed you on, and as our leader, Melinda Stallworth, has already summarized, thank you for your vision, your commitment, and leadership in helping equip and serve the servants who in turn serve our fellow citizens. That is an incredibly important role, and frankly, it's one that I don't believe is fully recognized or appreciated, how these AmeriCorps dollars and programs leverage volunteers so that an invested dollar is multiplied in so many different ways. It is one of the most effective investments that our country makes in changing the lives of individuals. I both recognize and thank you for the leadership that you now have assumed for those programs. Your help in doing what you're doing, in leading what you're leading, will unleash the power of those who've been introduced and those who will serve under you, and as a result of the funds that you're investing to leverage and multiply and change lives in this state. So thank you very much again, and welcome. May I know you need no introduction, but this is our vice chair, who has been our vice chair for many years, Betty Ruth. Betty.
Thank you. And I am the happiest person in the world today because 1 month ago, I extended the invitation to the AmeriCorps CEO, and I said, Michael, I've always called him Michael, so please excuse me. I said, Michael, you have to come to Alabama. I didn't say, will you come to Alabama or please come. I said, you have to come to Alabama. So I never dreamed in 1 month's time Michael would be in Alabama with us because we have so much going on in the state of Alabama that is exciting for us as well as exciting for you, and know that we are all about national service. And Mayor, I'm sorry I ran in late and did not get to formally meet you, but I'm so happy you're here today to share in us welcoming and providing Michael with a very happy time in the great city of Birmingham. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate you very much. So I know that you all did not come to hear me today, but I could just talk on and on forever, as some of you well know. But Michael just spent a great 1 hour with the senior side of the programs, the AmeriCorps seniors, and now he's here to share his time with you, our great AmeriCorps members in the state of Alabama. And Rod, are you going to read all of it?
That sounds like an invitation to be brief.
I will leave this up to Rod to decide how he wants to handle the proclamation from the governor as well.
As long as no one is going to tell on me that I did not read the governor's entire proclamation, I will take for granted that you'll be able to do so, and we'll fully appreciate it. But I will highlight a couple of paragraphs.
But he has to raise his, Michael, you have to raise your hand and say, I do.
He will. That's right. Don't cross that lady. You know, you understand that. So, whereas service is a hallmark of the American character and has unique ability to bring people of all backgrounds together in common cause, and throughout our history, citizens have stepped up to meet our most pressing challenges of the day by volunteering in these communities. And whereas AmeriCorps provides opportunities for more than 250,000 Americans to serve their country through service at nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based groups across our country. And whereas through their service, AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers strengthen the service and lives of their families, communities, and the state of Alabama as a whole. Whereas since AmeriCorps was founded in 1994, more than 9,100 AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers in Alabama served more than 15 million hours and qualified for the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards totaling more than $30.7 million. Whereas AmeriCorps Week is an opportunity to recognize the dedication and commitment of the more than 1.2 Americans who have chosen to serve their country through AmeriCorps, and millions more who have served in AmeriCorps seniors and their community partners, to encourage more Americans to follow their footsteps in service. Now, therefore, I, Kay Ivey, Governor of Alabama, do hereby proclaim March 13 through 19, 2022 as AmeriCorps Week in the state of Alabama. Obviously signed by our Governor, Kay Ivey.
Michael, do you want to come and get it, please? I would love to.
Please.
Excuse me, I just told him that was all for him.
We're gonna put it up in the offices.
Wonderful.
Take a photo.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to have you here. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you. I actually would love to attend some of your meetings. I bet they're a hoot. Well, we here at the City of Birmingham have a proclamation for you all as well, but in order of time, I'll make sure that you all get it upon leaving. So next, we actually have one of our very own members who's going to come and talk to you about why they serve and why it's important to give back. So if I would, or Miss Candice Pittman would join us on the stage this morning. You all give her a round of applause. Thank you. I will say Candice is one of our stellar members, and we've loved having her on our team.
How's everybody doing? Good. My name is Candice Pittman, and I serve with the City of Birmingham in the Human Resources Department. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up in the North Birmingham, Collegeville area, where there are over 30 churches in the area. As a young child, I enjoyed going to church, and I can remember how eager I was to help assist my church members with various church events in the neighborhood, such as Vacation Bible School, Sunday School, and back to school drives. This is where I learned the importance of helping people in my community. However, immediately after completing high school, I got my first job working in hospitality at the Sheraton Birmingham, which is the largest hotel in Birmingham. I worked there for about 14 years. While at the Sheraton, I enjoyed meeting people from various walks of life. I had the opportunity to connect with people who were at the hotel for various reasons, from business, leisure, or just visiting family members or loved ones who are receiving treatment at UAB Hospital, which is the only level 1 trauma center in Alabama, and they serve people in the Southeast with traumatic injuries. At that point in my life, I felt like I had a job and I was just surviving. But I was not able to help people in the capacity that I wanted to. But while I was there, I met my husband. My husband is my inspiration, and being married to him has led me to understand my purpose. My husband is a Sergeant First Class in the U.S. Army Reserve, and for 13 years, I have watched him serve this country. I knew I wanted to serve my country as well. In 2020, his unit was called up for deployment. He was deployed to Afghanistan for 11 months on January 18, 2021. And it was at that point I knew I had to do something while he was deployed. In addition to becoming a stay-at-home mom and caring for my 6-year-old daughter, I enrolled in the public health program at the University of Alabama at Birmingham as a graduate student. The health of the public and the environment always sparked my interest, and I knew this would keep me busy while he was deployed. But that just wasn't enough. I wanted to do something else. I wanted to help my country, city, or neighborhood. But I knew I didn't want to join the military and couldn't join the military and leave my daughter since her dad was already serving in the Army. I was looking for volunteer opportunities, and I saw AmeriCorps on LinkedIn. I immediately researched, and I knew that this would be a good opportunity for me to serve my country. I chose the city of Birmingham because this is my city, and I wanted to help my city because I've seen this city grow from a city stricken with harsh civil rights sanctions to a city that will be welcoming the World Games in July. There is work to be done in this city, and I want to be a part of serving the people in the community. AmeriCorps was the vessel I needed to assist me in carrying out my purpose, which is providing aid and service to the citizens of Birmingham while staying local, finishing my degree, and caring for my daughter. AmeriCorps has allowed me to serve as a volunteer in service to America for the city of Birmingham while using my public health background to help build capacity at the local level so communities in Birmingham can thrive as this city regains its name as the Magic City in the 21st century. My purpose was not just to serve in hospitality industry, but instead thrive as an AmeriCorps Vista, for this great city of Birmingham. In closing and in honor of Women's History Month, I would like to leave everyone with a quote from the late and great Maya Angelou that depicts my purpose. She said herself, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." Thank you.
I told y'all, she's a spitfire. Thank you, Candice. It's always good to hear from our members. So now we'll transition to the point in the program where we'll get ready to hear from our leaders. As I go over and give you a brief introduction of our speakers, I would ask if they would begin making their way up to the stage, and we'll get this party started. So first, I would like to introduce Michael D. Smith, who serves as the CEO of AmeriCorps. Nominated by President Biden, confirmed by the U.S. Senate in December of 2021, Smith has dedicated his career to social justice and public service in underserved communities. Before joining AmeriCorps, he served as the executive director of the My Brother's Keepers Alliance and the director of youth opportunity programs at the Obama Foundation. Next, we have our mayor, Mayor Randall L. Woodfin. Mayor Woodfin became the city of Birmingham's 30th mayor in 2017. A native of Birmingham, Mayor Woodfin is no stranger to civic and social involvement. Prior to becoming the mayor of Birmingham, he served as the assistant city attorney for the city of Birmingham and the president of the Birmingham School Board of Education. His philosophy of putting people first has guided his leadership and shaped the tone of this entire administration. I present to you our guests. If you all would join me in giving them a round of applause. All right, so they have some questions that they'll be engaging one another in, so let's just sit back and enjoy.
I think our mic's on.
Yep, can you hear me?
So truthfully, first, let me say good morning to everybody, but I think the program can end. Candice dropped the mic.
She really did.
Not only is she ICE, right? My sister's Candice as well, ICE. But she dropped the mic, so we can just go right now. Now, I'm honored to be here with y'all. Service is really important. In our capacities, we lead organizations, we lead people, but we mainly want to make impact. So I don't want this to be too canned. Of course, I got some questions here, but this is kind of more, let's just freestyle it. I think I'll start, we can just go back and forth. Let me frame it. How about that? We're in Botanical Gardens right now. The AmeriCorps Vista members you see here, they've been on a journey. They've been on a journey of service. I think we are the equivalent of stopping at a gas station to fill our tanks, but our tanks would be the equivalent of understanding why we do what we do. Why did they sign up for this? Why is AmeriCorps important? So as the leader of this organization, could you tell them why AmeriCorps?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here. It is good to be in the great city of Birmingham. We started our day off, as Betty mentioned, with some of our AmeriCorps senior members. I think so often when people think about AmeriCorps, they think about younger folks who are right out of high school or right out of college. But what I love about the fact that we started with our AmeriCorps seniors is it shows that this is a lifetime of service. And Dr. King talked about that idea that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to serve others? And it's not something that you do for a week. It's not something that you do once a year. I think all of us are constantly challenged to figure out, what is our responsibility to give back to the communities that gave so much to us? For me, I grew up with teen parents in a low-income community. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I was doing as much as I could to give back to folks that had given so much to me. I wouldn't be sitting here with the esteemed mayor of Birmingham, having the opportunity to represent President Biden, if it weren't for folks like you that are taking time out of their life to figure out how can we give to our neighbor's child, how can we make sure that during times like these that are so challenging, we're doing all we can to help our young people, help our community members that are in most need achieve their dreams. And that's why service matters. People are going to go to work. People are going to do different things to achieve their dreams. But if none of us are stopping and pausing to say, why isn't this just about me?
Right.
Not just serving myself, but how am I taking care of my community? Then we won't have the impact that we need in communities across the country here in Birmingham.
So,
Sorry about that. It was not. Hello. Trust me, everything I said was great.
it really was great. Let me pause, though, before we go to our next question. I just got to do this plug. And there are many visitors in here from various organizations. But for those with the City of Birmingham, where I serve, could you please stand and be recognized? City of Birmingham. So definitely in front of Mr. Smith, I want to say thank you for what you do. But for all of you, if you don't know, he's only been on the job a little right at 8 weeks or a little more?
Yeah.
So in 2+ months, could you please share with everybody some of your priorities?
Sure. Well, for those of you who don't know, who might be new to the AmeriCorps family, AmeriCorps is a almost 30-year-old federal agency that was started during the Clinton administration to see what we could do to harness the power of service to meet some of our nation's toughest challenges. And right now, we will have more than 250,000 AmeriCorps members that are serving in more than 40,000 locations in every single state, U.S. territory. So chances are, if there is a problem that needs solving, and if there are folks that are doing good, AmeriCorps members are having something to do with that. And thanks to President Biden, we've had a historic investment where we saw through the American Rescue Plan more than $1 billion going into this agency, because we realize when the going gets tough, AmeriCorps members get tougher. And throughout this pandemic, whether that has been standing in vaccination and testing lines, working with kids in schools, working alongside cities, helping people rebuild and recover, helping people think about new pathways to jobs and opportunities, AmeriCorps members have been there. And so I get a chance to be a part of that proud legacy. And so you ask yourself, what do we do at this moment? President Biden talks about this idea that we've got to build back better. Everything wasn't great before the pandemic, right? The pandemic helped to expose some of the wounds that many of us knew about already, helped to expose, the inequities that exist in some of the communities that were already in greatest need. And so when you think about what is the role of AmeriCorps in this agency in the next chapter, I think about 3 different things. One is, how do we make sure that everything that we do has an impact lens? It's nice that you want to serve and you can feel good about serving, but if you don't start as a volunteer, as an AmeriCorps member, as an organization that gets AmeriCorps grantees, saying, what is the impact I'm trying to have? Not how many people are going to wear the AmeriCorps A, how many bowls of soup did we hand out, how many coats did we hand out, but what are we doing to really have a lasting impact so that we are creating change in communities? That's where we have to focus on that impact. The second thing that we think a lot about is, what is the role of equity in national service? And how do we make sure national and community service represents the diversity of the communities that we serve in the country that we care about? We have to make sure that service doesn't always look like someone coming in from outside of the community, helping or doing something to a community. But people from especially underserved communities have to see themselves as having the opportunity to serve as well. And I know for me, Mr. Mayor, growing up in my community, it was people in my community who didn't have a whole lot of money, who didn't get a lot of fame, who didn't have a whole lot of celebrity, that took the extra time to give back to kids like me. And so I want to make sure that we are removing the barriers and creating the opportunity so that everybody has an opportunity to serve, and it's not just a luxury or a privilege for a few. And the third thing that I think about for our priorities, in this time of great polarization, when we can hyper-select the news that we read, the friends that we have, the rooms that we sit in, how can national service build bridges and bring us together? I would love to hear from our AmeriCorps members, but I've seen it with my own eyes. There is something about responding to tragedy. There is something about walking into the storm, rolling up your sleeve, working neighbor beside neighbor where your religion doesn't matter, the color of your skin doesn't matter, your political affiliation doesn't matter. You are just locking arms with your neighbor to get things done for your community. And so I believe national and community service can help restore some of these wounds and allow America to really regain some of that community feel that we seem to have lost in recent years.
Yes, sir. Candice spoke to figuring out your purpose, wanting to live in your purpose and having impact. And I understand gap years, right? She didn't speak to a gap year, but after college, I took a gap year before I went to graduate school. After graduate school, I took 2 years before I practiced in my field.
What'd you do in that gap year?
I actually worked for the city of Birmingham, Division of Youth Services.
Uh-huh.
But I'm setting that up because you have people out here who, when they completed high school, they were not ready to go to college right away. So they're in the gap year. You have folk that have completed college in the gap year. You have seniors who have decided that they don't want to be at home. They want to make an impact. For AmeriCorps Week, celebrating the work you all have been doing for almost 30 plus years, when they share with their friend or at a dinner table with their parents or in the community with another community member, what should they be saying about AmeriCorps, or and especially in lieu of celebrating this week? What should they be saying to community members why this is important and why they chose what they did?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what I've heard from AmeriCorps members. I've heard a few different things. One, I heard a lot in this past couple of weeks. I was getting ready to go to college, but I had just gone through a year or two of virtual schooling, and I didn't want any more of that. So I'm going to take some time off to really get in my community and be up close and personal with my community while they figure things out at the next institution. So it provides an opportunity to do that. I've heard from AmeriCorps members, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do in college or after college, and so serving gives me an opportunity to test out some things. Maybe I'll be working in housing, maybe I'll be working in City Hall, maybe I'll be working in a hospital. Where else can you get that kind of experience? I've heard from AmeriCorps members, I need a little extra money for college, and so if I do this year of service, I get an education award, and so that's a reason that I do it as well. I've heard from AmeriCorps members, it's a pathway to career opportunities. We have an AmeriCorps program called the National Civilian Community Corps, where AmeriCorps members are responding to disaster. One of those corps works in partnership with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We graduated our 10th anniversary class in Vicksburg a couple days ago. 70% of those AmeriCorps NCCC members are being hired by FEMA. And are going into good government jobs that have pensions and pathways to give back to your country. So these are the sorts of things that I'm hearing. And of course you always hear from AmeriCorps members, I get so much more out of serving than I feel like I'm giving to a community. I'm sure that the people on the other side feel differently. And lastly, I'll say, being with our AmeriCorps seniors this morning, we talked to AmeriCorps senior members who had been volunteering for almost 20 years, who said, I retired and have been doing this work now for 20 years. And they talked about how it built them up, how it kept them, especially in this past couple years, which have been so hard. It kept them engaged. It kept them motivated. It kept them connected to their community. So, it's not just a pat yourself on the back kind of thing. It's not just something to do every now and again, but it's something that I think is both transformative to the communities that we serve, but also transformative to the members that are serving as well.
Some may not know that you've been leading in various capacities for quite some time, including your last stint as with the Obama Foundation, My Brother's Keeper Executive Director. That work as a leader, which was really impact work, how have some of those things either transferred to what you're doing now or are relatable to the service and the work AmeriCorps does now? Sure.
Look, the way that I have looked at my career, and I feel so blessed to have this opportunity, I said at a younger age, I want to have an opportunity to build a career that's giving back to the communities like the one that I grew up in. So no matter the name on the place where I'm working, whether it's the Obama Foundation or AmeriCorps or White House, whatever, my job is building capacity in communities like mine. And so even though I've changed jobs, I still look at this as a chance to figure out how do we create pathways to opportunity for boys and young men of color and their families for the kids that are counted out, for the kids that are marginalized, for families that don't have the resources that they need. How are we creating those opportunities? And a few different things that I saw in my last job that I think have been really important to look at here is one, it's never just serving one person. Like, so when we think about, the work that we were doing around boys and young men of color, you can't just, provide a mentor to a young man if you're not also thinking about what's going on with their mom, what's going on with their dad, what's going on with employment pathways, what's happening in their schools. This idea that it takes a village, but it is also an ecosystem. And so when we think about the work that we're doing at our agency, we are thinking about a whole community approach. Another thing that I think a lot about, which is something that was very important to President Obama, was this had to be impact-driven work, right? There were a lot of people that would have been really happy if we would have sat around and had a conversation about race and moved on. Or a lot of people would have been happy if we would have had a take your kid to the ball game day and took some pictures and moved on. Our work at My Brother's Keeper was rooted in data and evidence. What are the challenges that are happening? Let's pull off the layers. Oh, why is it that if you happen to be a little black boy or a little black girl, you're 3 times more likely to be expelled from school? Why is it that black boys are 6% of the nation's population, but more than half of the nation's murder victims? Like, you got to really look at the data and then have data-driven solutions that are attacking those challenges. For instance, we launched in the Obama administration Second Chance Pell. So incarcerated individuals could have an opportunity to get Pell Grants. Why? Because the data showed that you were 50% less likely to recidivate if you actually got some education while you were incarcerated. And so I take all of that into the work that we do now, thinking about equity, thinking about impact, and thinking about the whole community approach to the work that we do. The last thing I will say is I've been so happy that AmeriCorps has played such an incredible role in the work of My Brother's Keeper. There are AmeriCorps Vista members, I think even in Birmingham and all across this country, that have helped to do that work. And so I think now, how are AmeriCorps members helping to build capacity in communities to provide some of the leadership around these place-based approaches to some of our greatest challenges?
Yes, sir. So, Ms. Alicia, if you mind, I'm going to go off and add at least one more question. And then one of the audience, since they rarely get to see their leader, but maybe to ask 1 or 2 questions if that's okay.
And I'm supposed to ask you a couple questions too. You can't get off the hook, Mr. Mayor.
They're way cooler than I am. As they're refueling during this moment, and before they leave here, they'll leave here and they'll continue on to their journey, destination of service to the community, not just Birmingham and Alabama, but across America. What do you say to these young leaders?
Well, I would say a couple things. One, never underestimate the transformative power that your service is having. We were talking to one of our AmeriCorps senior members this morning who had been there for almost 20 years, and she said, my little babies that I worked with in the foster grandparent program, they're graduating from college now. And they come back and said, you taught me some of my first words. You taught me how to tie my shoes. So, I'm a man of faith, and I think about in the Christian tradition, the scripture that said, one man plants, another waters, and God gives the increase. You might not see the fruit of your work right now, but know you are watering. Know that you are planting, and those trees are going to come up big and strong, and one day you'll be able to take your kids back and meet someone that you worked with, or you'll be able to see a place that is different because of the work that you're doing now. So just know the extraordinary generational transformative work that you're doing, because we've got proof on the other side of it. The other thing that I will say, which I think for our younger AmeriCorps members, which is really exciting, they're so much more self-actualized than we are, so much more better than we were, when we were younger, talking about emotions, talking about their place in this world. Mrs. Obama would always say to us, put your mask on first. Just like when you're on that airplane and they say if you're traveling with a little kid, you got to put your mask on first before you can help them, because if you're falling out on the plane, you can't help them. So this is long-term work. This is cathedral building work. So breathe, exercise, read, take some breaks, and make sure that you are constantly thinking about how you are watering into yourself and taking care of yourself, so that you can take care of others. And I think sometimes when we do work like this, we think we have to work ourselves ragged, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, keep going until 2 o'clock in the morning. This is a marathon. And so make sure that you're constantly thinking about how you're taking care of yourself so that you can feed into your community.
That's a great question. All right, here's what we're going to do, everybody. I'm going to do 2 quick questions from anybody in the audience that has one. Straight to Michael Smith. Cool opportunity. Who's shy? Everybody.
So while y'all are thinking about questions, Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
how has the Vista program really benefited the city?
So our Vista program, everybody, has been very impactful. One, I'm grateful for the people that have stood up and are serving, and many more that have come before them, and the 60 plus that we have every year. And it's led by Miss Alicia Lumpkin, who does an amazing job. But the way I frame it is threefold. One is cities across the nation are having a hard time right now with retention and just our ability to recruit folk, train folk, and keep them and want to stay and provide their talent time to municipal government and to their community. I'm excited to say that Birmingham retains 38%
Wow.
of our visitors that become employees, so I'm grateful for that.
That's huge.
I would say a second way is, again, a lot of people, I literally did an interview earlier today, and someone was asking me about another business as an employer. And I often have to remind people, yes, I'm responsible for fixing potholes and paving streets and providing public safety, but I'm also an employer. I employ 3,000 plus employees. So I have to take care of them, right, in order for them to take care of the citizens we serve. And so there's so many internal things we have to do from a culture standpoint and services to our employees. Well, one of our AmeriCorps members, Laura Brantley, she created a lactation program for recent mothers that's housed in City Hall that we implemented in 2021. And so our ability to engage our employees in a better way, to let them know we care about them for their work-life balance, which includes any services they need at City Hall. Vista created that program.
Wow.
And then I would just say a third way is, again, they're limited tax dollars. We don't have all the money in the world to actually solve every issue that exists in our community and city. So we have to go after grants, and a lot of grants are competitive. Well, I'm happy to say that some of our visitors have allowed us to go after at least a minimum of $2 million worth of grants.
Wow.
So that's been helpful for us. So those are just 3 examples.
Those are 3 amazing examples. And now I'm going to be quoting that 38% statistic everywhere I go, because that matters.
Yes, sir.
It's not just a one-off, but it's creating a life-changing experience.
Yeah,
it's really
absolutely
amazing. See, you're having the problem I was having earlier.
Can you hear me? Okay.
There you go.
All right. First of all, I appreciate both of y'all for coming today, taking time out of your schedule to discuss, new things that are going on with the AmeriCorps, and congratulations on your job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming here, showing your face. My question is, with the AmeriCorps department and what you're doing around the United States, what are your new changes that you would like to bring about with the AmeriCorps organization?
Well, one of the biggest things that we're focused on right now is what we talk about as barriers to service. And y'all might agree with me when I talk about the stipend. It's terrible. I'll just say it. President Biden, as a part of the Build Back Better Act, if that would have passed through Congress, we would have seen a minimum living allowance of $15 an hour across the board. Unfortunately, for those of you that watch the news, the Build Back Better Act is not moving as quickly as we had hoped. But we're not going to stop there. Still hoping and praying that we'll see some pieces of that legislation pass. But it says if it doesn't, we're going to change. So we're making incremental increases to the living allowance. So I think we'll be up to $17,500 next year. We finally have been able to attach the education award to the Pell Grant. So it used to be around $4,500. Now it's about $6,500, $6,800. So we are making changes. But on my watch, I promise you that I recognize that we cannot be asking people to do this level of service and have to worry about eating at night or have to worry about keeping a roof over their head. And so we are trying to figure out what can we do as our own power within the agency, what can we do with the private sector to make sure that we reduce one of those barriers. Because the other thing that ties directly into equity, right? When I think about who I was at 18, 21 years old, and we didn't have any money. And if I would have told my mom, hey, Mom, I got offered this job that's going to pay me X, but you know what? I really think I'm going to go make $7 an hour. My mom would have looked at me like I was crazy. And so it creates some barriers for the types of people that we need working. And so that is one of our biggest challenges that we are going to look to make an impact on. Then there are other barriers to service, but what we've heard from our members, that's one that is front and center for us every day. So that's what we're thinking about for members. There is also a similar problem on the grantees, the organizations, the city governments, the nonprofit organizations that receive AmeriCorps grants. And we need to make sure that they're more diverse and that we make our processes and our procedures and our marketing more attractive to faith-based organizations, rural organizations, inner-city organizations, people of color-led organizations, so that we really do represent that diversity.
Do we have any more questions? Going one? Oh, there we go. This one.
Am I on?
Yes.
Mr. Smith, Mayor Woodfin, thank you for being here today. My name is Liz Kurtz. I'm a two-time AmeriCorps alum, and I currently manage the AmeriCorps program at Teach for America, Alabama. And I love service. I've also served in the Peace Corps. A lot of my family served in the military, which kind of gives you a little bit of idea of where my inspiration to serve came from. Mr. Smith, I was wondering if you could please speak a little bit more to what drove you to your service and getting involved in this initiative. And also, did you do the Corps?
I did not. So what drove me to my service? So growing up in the Boys and Girls Club was really what sparked my passion for service. So at a very young age, I started going to Boys and Girls Club. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. We were serving in the homeless shelters. We were doing the share food distribution. We were making all sorts of kits. And so at an early age, they had us serving, and I was surrounded by these people that were making such a difference for us. And I was like, I have a responsibility. I have to do that. I think the other thing is probably growing up in the church. I was a Pentecostal pew baby. We were some of y'all know what that is. Pentecostals go to church a lot. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if there's a revival, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening service. But a part of the church tradition is also service. So it was in my blood. And so although I didn't do AmeriCorps, I was constantly serving my community, working in nonprofits in different ways. And that's what sparked me. And to this day, I think about those folks. My first interaction with AmeriCorps was we had foster grandparents at the Boys and Girls Club that I grew up in. I think about Miss Airy and Grandma Mary, Miss Essie and Grandma Mary. And so that's what sparked my passion for service. I also just want to say thank you for serving and serving and serving again. It means the world. Thank your family for their military service. One of the things we're excited about, we have a senior advisor for Veterans and Military Affairs. Because we want to make sure that we are using national service to serve our veterans and military families, but also provide a pathway for them to serve when they come back home. And we have incredible examples with programs like the Mission Continues and others all over the country where that's so important to the work that we do with AmeriCorps.
Thank you. You all will join me in giving them a round of applause. We definitely appreciate you all. In closing, we have a special announcement that one of our local partners would love to share with you all. So I would love to invite Amy to the stage to share a new initiative that UAB is supporting.
Am I saying anything about this? I thought I was, but maybe not. Okay, great.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amy Chatham. I work for the University of Alabama at Birmingham. I'm an assistant dean in the School of Public Health and a public health practitioner, just like Candice spoke about. I'm privileged to be here, and I'm a deep believer in national service. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer back in the early 90s. And the announcement that I have to make is that our program at UAB has signed on to be part of the new initiative to address food insecurity in this state. Our program, when I took it over in 2016, had 5 volunteers. Since then, we have grown. We are now in 8 counties at 28 subsites. We've placed 92 volunteers. We'll place 90 this year. Our commitment, is to always place half of our vistas in the Black Belt. That's a commitment that we made when we decided to expand. We do work in food security, environmental sustainability, educational equity, refugee resettlement, workforce development, racial reconciliation, rural health and wellness, and opioid education and prevention. And this wouldn't be possible if not for the volunteers who have served, are currently serving, and will serve this state, because we really need to make this state healthier and more equitable. And so that's our announcement, is expansion into food security, doing more than we've done before. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Amy. That was some really exciting news. I don't think there's anything left to say. I think hearing from our presenters and our guests, our members, has been overwhelming today. And I hope that you all are able to take a piece of what they've shared with you, and as Michael has mentioned, that it's just a seed and you take it and you plant it somewhere else. I think our time has definitely been well spent, and I would like to thank each of you all for joining us today and wish you all safe travels. Thank you.